Seeing the Ankr price run up recently ignites the mind on wilder ideas about the destination. Will Ankr equalize to other coins with similar allocation? That is the gambit. Speaking of destinations, I have one for you today that's quite something. Are you ready to dive into the deep sea with me to fish out the link of an Italian typewriter to an investment house in Singapore as a way of explaining the connection between Ankr and Algorand? Okay, to be fair, I don't know anyone that's quite ready for this one. We start this journey off with European sports cars. As an investor, and if you are like me, you daydream of Lambos and other sports cars that just one day you will own. You might recognize this car zooming on the screen. In the channel advice I'm building for you, I am assembling for me. You might even go so far as to say that the channel has been transformative. The car on the screen is the Autobot Wheeljack. The character Wheeljack has deep sea connections with our due diligence in this episode. For now, let me just point out that Wheeljack is based on a very specific car, a car that's going to take us into the world of cryptocurrency. That car, the Lancia Stratos Turbo Group 5. Now, for those of you who are not as familiar with the deep lore of animated Transformers, let me bring you quickly up to speed. The character Wheeljack is the name of several fictional characters in the various Transformer universes, usually as a resourceful inventor, even if his devices can be unreliable. Wheeljack is the mechanical engineer and scientist of the Autobots in the Transformers television and comic series based on the popular toy line produced by Takara and Hasbro. His vehicle mode is a Lancia Stratos Turbo 5 race car, sporting Attilia livery. Note that car #539 is the only surviving Lancia Stratos Turbo. Only 2 were ever built by Lancia, compared to the rest, which feature a different body shell. Now, in the 1970s of Italy, this rather unique car was brought into the world. It is called the Lancia Stratos. The car was built in a city called Turin. Wikipedia lets us know something interesting, which is about a town inside the city of Turin. I'll pronounce this wrong, as the closest to Italian I am ever going to get is playing Mario Brothers while eating pasta, so I'll pronounce it Ivory. Ivory, Ivrea, is a town and commune of the metropolitan city of Turin in the Piedmont region of northwestern Italy. Situated on the road leading to the Aosta Valley, it straddles the Dora Baltea and is regarded as the center of the Canavasa area. Ivory lies in a basin that in prehistoric times formed a large lake, perhaps some dinosaurs. The Lancia Stratos Turbo Group 5 is a unique looking car. Undertones of white with bold sharp lines, unmistakable fins that cover the rear glass, and bright green and red decal work that once seen are, you mean that car. In the modern designer take, as shown on the screen, the more contemporary ideas of rounded lines and soften the sharp angles of the original. And you know what? Like diving into the ocean or a swimming pool, or Ankr versus Algorand, it is quite okay to just like one or the other, or even both. The Lancia Stratos Turbo Group 5, which sounds like an epic movie, can call home the city of Turin, and Turin has a small town within it. Its metropolitan makeup, according to Wikipedia, a small town by the name of Ivory. That's the Ivrea. And you know who has connections to Ivory in the crypto space? You likely already know, because of course I'm talking about Pino Persiano. Wait, who is Pino Persiano? Well, this is interesting because his advisory name is Pino, but his GitHub name is Giuseppe. And yes, I'm a simple American of the variety that has a distinct lack of an ability to pronounce words with more than 3 syllables. So, looking at GitHub page here, there's some interesting material. The concepts he is exploring on the frontiers are pretty interesting. But this isn't a deep dive video into the frontiers of theoretical computer science and cryptography. This is a Batman detective video about how to get paid. We also can confirm this Giuseppe is the same person speaking of his time working for a company called Olivetti. Do you know what that is? I didn't. Let me share what I learned briefly about that company. First, it's based out of Ivrea, Ivrea, Italy, which is part of Turin. Even more, it was founded by an Italian engineer, and their claim to fame was typewriters. So we've got a computer science professor who works on the frontiers of cryptography with a company founded on typewriters based out of the same city as the car the Autobot Wheeljack is modeled off of, which, just to remind you, is the Lancia Stratos Turbo Group 5. Pino Persiano is, yes, a respected professor in computer science, but he also serves as an advisor to the Algorand Foundation. Quite literally, this is Algorand.Foundation in your browser. So we've gone from Wheeljack and the Lancia Stratus Turbo Group 5 in Italy. And now we are seeing something about the Republic of Singapore. You see, the Algorand Foundation is a limited liability Ltd business entity, as shown on the screen, formed in the Republic of Singapore. Singapore? Yes. As Wikipedia reminds us, modern Singapore was founded in 1819 by Sir Stamford Raffles as a trading post of the British Empire. It started and remains an economic center of gravity at the world stage. The history of Raffles in Singapore is interesting in that regard. Let me just share with you a small slice of it. Quote, Raffles returned to Singapore in October 1822. Raffles was pleased with the fact that Singapore had grown exponentially in such a short period of time. The colony was a bustling hub of trade and economic activity. So, interesting, no? Now, since we are talking government planning, commerce, and plans, that's a good time to bring up two threads that are going to take us even deeper into the sea. Those threads are a long barcode-like thing that maps back to something important. Let me read off two interesting strings of numbers and letters. First, we have 2019073881G, and then second we have 202125769G. Poseidon, you might ask, what are these? These are the business filing numbers assigned to two business entities for the Algorand Foundation in Singapore. One is for Algorand Foundation Ltd proper, and the other is for something called Algorand Foundation Operations Pte Ltd. Okay, so let's see where this takes us. What strange mystery is connected with 202125769G, also known as the Algorand Foundation Operations Pte Ltd? Well, first, this is a new filing. As of the recording of this episode, this entity is not even 3 months old. 3 months is important. Please remember that for a little bit later in this episode. Now, the filing for incorporation lists 4 officers of the company. Who? Good question. Pino is one of those 4 officers as shown on the screen. The other 3 are also on display. Now, another interesting question, where is this company's listed headquarters? Well, the listed headquarters are in CMO Building, 50 Southbridge Road, postal 058682. That's in Singapore. It's in Singapore, and there's a large list of interesting companies here. With Algorand having such a deep presence in Singapore, the next question is, are some of the early local investors, are they also nearby? After all, the best money is local money, if you can get it. And it doesn't take long before finding a venture capital firm that goes by the English name of Link VC, but that name isn't their official kind of legal name. The company is front-run by someone named Zhangping Lin, who founded the company in 2016. More interesting is that their officers include Beijing, Hong Kong, and the United States. The connection into the United States is interesting because at this point in the research, I want to ask this new question. Is there a deep money connection between Algorand and Ankr? What I mean by that is a clarification. Is there an investor connecting both Algorand and Ankr together? That link, it turns out, is Link VC. We have to go back into 2018 to find the specific news about the inception of Ankr. Quote, Ankr Network, a blockchain project focused on building a public chain for cloud computing, has raised US $15 million from Danhua Capital, US-based Pantera Capital, Neo Global Capital, OK Blockchain Capital, Block VC, and, this is important, Singapore-based Link VC, and others, according to Chinese local media reports. Wait, is that the same Link VC that invested in Algorand? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is. You might ask yourself this question then. I thought Ankr had business filings in the United States. Does it have some filing in Singapore too? That question is a bit harder to answer because of lookalike businesses. However, after a lot of deep sea swimming, I found a likely match as shown on the screen here. But there's something even more interesting about the business filings. It was about 3 months ago. Remember that 3 months I asked you to remember earlier? Well, here we are. Poseidon, you might ask, is that the same 3 months ago that Algorand also formed their newly incorporated entity? And I can answer this with certainty. Both Algorand and Ankr had business filings in their company namesakes within the last 6 months in Singapore, are both traced to early seed money from a Singapore-based investment operation known on the surface as Link VC, but it has an actually different trade name. Both have a maximum allocation of 10 billion by their contract definition, and both start with the letter A, which also appears twice in the word Batman. Also, Ankr nearly touched its all-time high since my last video, so keep an eye out. As leading members of the community have called and predicted, the Ankr time is coming. In this video of Unusual Due Diligence, we started by tracing the origins of the Autobot Wheeljack to Italy, and then ended up in Singapore, where I shared a rather interesting bit of due diligence connecting Algorand to Ankr by way of a set of Singapore-based business filings and investment venture capital firm known as Link VC. If you enjoyed this quick ride around the world, give me a thumbs up. This is Unusual Due Diligence. I am your host Poseidon, God of the Sea. From Italian race cars to Singapore investment houses, this was a fun one to research. Make waves, my friend.